Okay, it's 12 o'clock and we have a jam-packed hour together. So I am going to get started. You'll notice that the first part of our time together is being recorded. That is just the presentation component that we'll step into in a moment. I'm going to ask Alina to keep an eye on the waiting room. Thank you for admitting anybody who is still trickling in. I appreciate you fielding that, Alina. And I'll start by introducing myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Angela Wignall, and I am deeply honored to serve as your Chief Executive Officer for the Professional Association for All Nurses and Nurse Practitioners in British Columbia, NNPBC. I'm a very proud registered nurse, and I'm delighted to be serving in this capacity, having been with the association since 2022. It's great to have so many of you here joining today. Thank you for adapting to the change in format. We heard very clearly that connection is a real priority right now. So I'm hopeful that the meeting format is a little bit more welcoming and gives you that opportunity to connect and engage in a way that you haven't before. I'll also note that I'm joined today by two colleagues, Zach Medayashin, who has been working with NNPBC to support the Your Voice, Your Future main agreement work, and Jane Narayan, who is not only a board member at NNPBC, but also the chair of the NP Leadership Committee at the association. They will also be facilitating some of our breakout spaces, so raising my hands in gratitude to the two of you for being here with us today. We also have one of our staff members, Alina, who is here as part of our communications engagement and member services team. And Alina is supporting, making sure that we're all in the right spots and you get into the breakout rooms that you have. As we start off today, I'll acknowledge that I'm joining from the unceded homelands of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, in what is today colonially known as Victoria, British Columbia. And this is also the chosen home of the Métis Nation of Greater Victoria. I know that all of us across what is today British Columbia serve and support nurses and nurse practitioners who are doing their work across the full breadth of what is today BC. That's home to over 200 First Nations, sheltering Métis communities and visiting Inuit. And so at the core of our work is always an acknowledgement of our responsibilities within those relationships and our commitment to moving NNPBC towards becoming an actively anti-racist organization. Since the format of this conversation is meeting, you have the opportunity to turn your camera on if you'd like, and you also have the opportunity to speak if you would like. I'm going to ask you to kindly stay muted for the first 10-15 minutes of our time together, because that will give me an opportunity to provide you with a little bit of an update and a little bit of framing for the conversation that will come. Our format today is to talk for a little bit together and then move into breakout rooms where you will have the opportunity to engage in smaller groups with a facilitator to talk about what is coming up for you in the conversations about pursuing a main agreement or a comprehensive compensation framework for NPs. This town hall is an extension of engagement that's been underway on this issue for 18 months. If we can believe it, we are a year and a half into this conversation. And I want to thank you for the extraordinary engagement that you have done over the past year and a half. In engaging with nurse practitioners across BC, our conversations have taken a really important arc that I want to call our attention to. We focused initially on education and understanding what is a main agreement, what is it not, how could it help, how could it not, into discussing how it would work in practice, what more information you need through engagement and surveys, and now in this moment to a conversation about taking the step of a mandate vote to say, yes, we want to step forward into driving the NP profession in a way that we never have had before. And so my goal today for this town hall is simple. It's here to share information about why this is the moment for nurse practitioners to act and to ensure that every single one of you feels ready to participate in the mandate vote in April. There is no question that change is coming to nurse practitioners in British Columbia. and it is coming to the way in which the profession is structured in the province. The federal government in January 2025 directed provinces and territories to ensure that nurse practitioner care is treated as an insured physician equivalent service under the Canada Health Act. This is a significant change. Provinces are required to respond in 2026, this year, and they will risk federal health dollar clawbacks in 2028 if they do not respond appropriately. Through our engagement at the provincial level with government and at the federal level, we are hearing very clearly that the province of British Columbia knows they need to take action, and they need to take action quickly. And NPs will either formally guide that change, or the government will need to move forward without us. So the real question that we are facing is, will NPs design what comes next? Or will the structure be designed without us? And so this vote, the mandate vote, is about creating the mechanism for the NP profession to lead the conversation about its future. Over the past year, nurse practitioners have told us very consistently that things need to change. And these things are also documented from years of engagement in your NP association and years of engagement when we transitioned into the unified association that is NNPBC. Across the practice settings in every model of employment, we hear the same things. We hear about fragmented compensation models, supports and benefits that need to be protected and in some instances expanded. We hear about the need for extending supports and benefits, opportunities for new models of employment and care provision. We hear from NPs that you want more flexibility and more opportunity in how you meet the needs of British Columbians as nurse practitioners. And ultimately, we hear that NPs want to shape the systems that drive NP work. NPs are currently influencing what happens, not leading at the table where your work is being designed. You may have noticed in the past few weeks, we've shifted our language a little bit, and that's in response to feedback from you. While all of this is happening, while the NP profession is growing rapidly and the health system is increasingly depending on NP care, we have been taking steps towards having a conversation about the right strategic foundation that the profession needs today and into the future. In British Columbia, the only current language that we have to articulate a comprehensive agreement between the government and a profession outside of a collective agreement that you might be familiar with if you were ever a union member. The only language we have for that relationship is a main or master agreement. Our physician colleagues have a master agreement. Our midwifery colleagues have a main agreement. These are facilitated and enabled by their professional associations. When physicians, it's Doctors of BC. With midwives, it's the Midwives Association of BC. These are not the same as unions, and they are not the same as collective bargaining. We've used the language of a main agreement in our outreach to date, and we've heard from nurse practitioners that there is a fear that if we adopt this language, what we are trying to do is copy what doctors or midwives have. And we want to be really clear that that is not the intention, nor is it the opportunity. We are, as your association, committed to pursuing the right relationship for nurse practitioners, something that is purpose-built for the profession. And that means a framework that articulates the full breadth of how NPs work, how NPs are compensated and supported, and where and how the profession contributes to the healthcare system that British Columbians need. That relationship is captured in a formal, binding agreement with government. We could call that a main agreement. We can call it a comprehensive compensation framework. We are talking about the same thing, something that codifies the relationship with government in a way that NPs define and articulate. I want to be clear that this is not just about pay. It is also not just about benefits. A main agreement or comprehensive compensation framework is about how the NP profession is respected, how it is seen and structured and supported in the province.
BC NPs have it pretty good already, but
Hey Heidi, I'm just going to mute you,
oh,
not
sorry.
because I don't want to hear what you have to say, but I just didn't know if you knew you could be heard. So the mandate vote that we are asking you is a simple question. It is a yes and a no question. Do you support NNPBC pursuing negotiations to establish a comprehensive compensation framework for nurse practitioners in British Columbia? That is the question you are going to be asked. You will have the opportunity to say yes, or you will have the opportunity to say no. This vote does not approve an agreement. It does not change your compensation, your job, or your work. It also does not change your employment arrangements. Things like benefits and pensions are not changing. A yes vote is simply allowing your association to begin the work of creating a main agreement for nurse practitioners. So what will happen after the vote? Well, there's two paths. If nurse practitioners tell us yes, we would like you to start the work of developing a comprehensive compensation framework, then we will create a dedicated NP department within NNPBC, and we will change the leadership structure for nurse practitioners within the association to a new form, the NP caucus, which will be your elected representative body that does the work of engaging with you to create a negotiating agenda by identifying priorities and needs. Once your NP caucus is elected and the staff are in place, NPs will have the opportunity to engage to identify priorities and needs, what needs to be on the table when we talk about this relationship with the government. And the elected negotiating committee, which will come later, as well as professional staff, including professional negotiation, lobbying, and lawyers, will engage with the government in formal negotiations. We anticipate a timeline of at least a year for this process. So again, when we vote yes or no in the mandate vote in April, we're not voting on an agreement. We're voting to start a journey. If NPs say no, this campaign will pause. You'll have given us a clear message that this is not what you want right now. NNPBC will continue in our current advocacy work on behalf of all nurse practitioners, what we do every day, within the existing employment structures and mechanisms that we have. And the government will continue to determine the path forward on NP practice and compensations without NPs formally at the table. NPs will elect, if yes is what happens, NPs will elect their caucus, they will elect their committees. And these two groups will confirm priorities with NPs across the province. If the vote goes no, we will continue to do that work as NNPBC staff and to support advocacy to the absolute best of our ability, as we have done for 5 years now. If you vote yes, if you vote no, nothing changes overnight. This will be a process that takes time and that is led by NPs every step of the way. NPs will set priorities, shape the agendas, and ultimately, when we get to that crucial moment, vote on any agreement tabled by the Government of British Columbia. That puts the profession firmly in the driver's seat in a way that NPs are not currently. Over the last 18 months, we've had some questions that we hear really consistently. So I've pulled forward a few questions to address here in what I hope is a helpful way. One of the questions we hear is, how does a main agreement benefit NPs working in different settings and in different models? We know that nurse practitioners are employed in a wide range of settings. So the intention of a main agreement is to strengthen what already exists, including benefits, and to seek to improve and expand on them where those opportunities are not currently present. It helps to ensure that all nurse practitioners have supports, benefits, and compensation that they need. And it also strives to heal divisions within the NP community around things like compensation and benefits. A main agreement promotes diversity. It does not say all NPs need to be employed in the same way and receive the same things. It is necessarily diverse so that NPs can meet the needs of patients and work how and where they choose. And most importantly, it gives NP a say in every single one of these things, which you currently do not have today. Another question we hear is, how will NNPBC ensure that this is NP-led? 2 new advisory groups will be developed if the vote is a yes. These are the NP Caucus, which is a representative body that engages all nurse practitioners across BC to gather input, identify priorities, and develop the negotiating strategy and agenda. These are NPs who look like you. In fact, you may be one of them. These are NPs who represent early career, late career, and long serving, folks in acute and specialty areas, folks in primary care, folks employed in health authority contracts, and folks employed in primary care nursing. There is a wide range of opportunity for this body to be truly representative of who you are. As we walk further down the road, an NP negotiating committee will need to be created as well. And this is the smaller group of NPs that sit down with the government and with the support of NNPBC staff to engage in formal negotiation. The negotiating committee, once again, will be elected and determined by the NP community in BC. Any negotiated tentative agreement would be presented back to all nurse practitioners in British Columbia for a formal vote of acceptance. This puts NPs in the driver's seat, both in the structure of how we get there and in the decision to accept what is tabled. Oops, my apologies. There we go. So there's a few pieces of information that I want to make sure you are crystal clear on. You have to register to participate in this vote, and registration is open until April the 3rd. The vote itself will take place between April 13th and April 24th. Please note that even if you are an NNPBC member, your membership does not automatically register you in this vote. You must take the step of registering. This includes people who are also not NNPBC members. An NNPBC membership is not required to participate. This is about all nurse practitioners in BC. Once you register and the vote opens on April the 13th, you will receive by email a confidential, secure ballot from a third-party voting system called Simply Voting. This will be your unique ballot that you get to cast. It is anonymous. We don't see who votes in what direction, and you will have 2 weeks to respond to your invitation to vote, with voting closing on April the 24th. That's 2 full weeks that the vote will be open. There is a QR code here that you can scan if you'd like to, if you're not sure you've registered. This will take you to registration. You can enter your information and make sure that you are ready to receive your ballot. There are 2 voting thresholds that are important for you to be aware of. One is quorum. For a vote to be considered valid, at least 25% of NPs who have registered to vote must participate in the vote. If we do not have participation above that threshold, we will understand that that vote does not count. Additionally, a mandate will only be secured if NPs vote yes more than 66% of those participating. If you have registered to vote, fantastic. We can't force you to show up and vote, but if you do, we're really grateful. We're very excited. And so 66% of those who participate in the vote will be taken as a mandate if the vote is yes. So once again, I want to encourage you to take a moment to go to npagreement.ca to ensure that you are registered to vote. Don't hesitate to register again if you can't remember if you've done it. We'd rather have you in twice than not in at all. You must register to vote by April the 3rd, and voting will open on April the 13th. That is the end of what I'm sharing, and I hope that that has been helpful in answering questions that you might have and being very clear about why we are doing this initiative at this moment in time and what the steps are required for you to take to make sure that your voice shapes the future of nurse practitioners in BC. We're going to move into some breakout rooms for conversation in just a moment. But I'll close this section of our agenda by saying that this initiative exists because nurse practitioners asked for this change. We heard it loud and clear for years, and we are delighted as your professional association to be able to step into this space professionally and in a way that protects your rights, your interests, and the way that you want to work. This process has been NP-led, and it is now in the hands of you, the NP profession, to say, yes, we want to drive the future of NPs in this province. So the question before us for this vote and for our conversation is not whether change will come to NPs in BC. We know it is coming. It is whether or not NPs will lead that change.